You're all set.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. Welcome to today's Parenting Academy Q&A. Today, we're going to talk about a very important topic, how shifting your mindset can lower your stress, improve your relationship with your child, and help your child thrive. Basically, how to change your mindset as a parent, not because you're not working hard enough, but because you're working hard on the wrong things. This Q&A is about shifting from trying to fix your child to changing your own expectations, your beliefs, and your habits so that you can actually help your child grow. Okay. Parents are exhausted, right? And like I said, not because you're lazy or you're not doing enough, because you're stuck in a loop of trying harder things that aren't working. You're trying to control behaviors or avoid meltdowns and find the perfect strategy, thinking that it will fix whatever challenge you have going on with your child. But what actually needs to change is how you approach your circumstances, your mindset, your language, your approach. That is really what gets you to the place that you want to be in with your child. And I'll tell you a story really quickly. I was doing a parent consultation one day, and I had been working with this family for a short while, but everyone could tell that we weren't making as much progress as we all wanted to. And then in the middle of the conversation, the parent stopped and said to me, "Wait a second. It sounds like you're telling me that I need to change my behavior in order to change my child's." We kind of all look at each other, and I was like, yes, that is exactly what I'm saying. If you continue to do the same thing over and over and over again, you cannot expect different results. And that was actually the reason why we actually weren't making as much progress as we wanted to. Because despite the work that we were doing together, the parent was still doing things the same way that he had in the past. He was stuck in his own beliefs and his own habits. But the moment that he realized that he needed to change his behavior to support his child, everything changed. From there, from that moment, that one realization, progress literally skyrocketed. And the family actually went on their own, fully equipped shortly after that parent had that realization. And I shared this with you because this is an example of how important it is to realize that progress for your child actually starts with you. Okay. Something that parents always tell me or ask me about is this: what strategy do I need to use to stop X, stop tantrums, stop aggression, stop meltdowns, or if I just find the right strategy for my child, it will all go away. Both of those kind of statements imply that you need to know the one thing to solve your problem. But the thing is that there is no one thing, there is no magic solution, there is no one strategy. Real change happens when you shift your focus from stopping this behavior and fixing this challenge to start building the foundation around your child's needs based on your family circumstances and your child's unique needs. What we're going to go over next is the 4 reasons why it's important to let go of the old mindset that focuses on fixing, stopping, or changing your child and their behavior challenges, and why it's important to adopt this new mindset that gets you to think differently and focuses on what you can control. Okay. So, reason number one is that you're sprinting through a marathon. If you are saying things to yourself like, if we just get through this IEP meeting, things will get better. Or if this new medication work, if this therapy clicks, if I just add one more therapy, or we just need to get through summer. And then once school starts, everything will be okay because we'll be back in routine. If you're saying any of these things to yourself, that's probably an indicator that you're sprinting through a marathon. The reason why this doesn't serve you is because you're racing toward a finish line that keeps moving. So summer is over, and then the school year comes, and then you're like, hey, now we need to get through the IEP. And then they're on vacation again. So every time that finish line keeps moving, parenting a neurodivergent child isn't a short term race. So instead, what you can do is ask yourself these questions: what do I need to let go off? Or what am I trying to control that isn't mine to control? What can I focus on in this moment or in this phase of my child's life? These questions will help you gain clarity and focus on what's important in this particular moment for your child, as opposed to trying to get to a finish line. Now, reason number two is that you're using language that increases stress. So, for example, I have to deal with meltdowns every morning. She's so manipulative. She never listens. He's so stubborn. He attacks me or he destroys me every time. The way that you talk about your child shapes how you feel about your child. And the way that you feel about your child shapes how you respond to them. It's so important. It shapes how you respond, and it also shapes the action that you will take to help them in X, Y, and Z. All of this is not entirely conscious, but when your mind creates these ideas about your child, you respond accordingly. So, a strategy for this is to start noticing your language. Instead of saying he's being bad, maybe try something like he's having a hard time. Even though the time in which your child is having a hard time is hard for you, just labeling it in a more supportive way towards your child helps you feel less stress. It kind of softens your response and it helps you show up more calmly, which in turn, then again, you feel less stressed about it. Reason number three is that you're measuring the wrong outcome. So if you try a strategy and you give up a week after because your child is still having the meltdowns or the tantrums, or just because you don't see progress fast enough, then this is an example that you're measuring the wrong outcome. Parenting strategies in general, neurotypical parenting strategies, are usually measured by whether they help the child stop or do something, right? Do they help stop the tantrum if I put them on a timeout? Do they help get them to do what I need them to do when I offer them a reward? But with neurodivergent kids, the measure of success isn't often just whether this happens or it doesn't happen. The measure of success is connection, emotional safety. Are we taking longer or shorter in doing things that usually take us longer or shorter? It's not compliance or getting them to do it or not. It's just more all of the nuanced things that happen in between. So, a strategy for this is to redefine what working means. What does it mean when something is working? Does your child feel safer with you? Are they using more communication? Are the tantrums still happening, but maybe they are less frequent or less intense, or they take shorter periods of time? Do you feel less stress? Are you more regulated? All of those things actually are indicators of progress when you are facing these kind of challenges with a neurodivergent child. So, redefining what working means will make progress more sustainable for you. It will decrease your stress and it will help your child better. Now, I want to go over the top mistakes to avoid. Mistake number one is trying to stop every behavior, every meltdown, every tantrum. Again, don't try to stop them. Instead, learn to work through them yourself and learn to help your child work through them. Focus on staying calm during the meltdown because your regulation teaches your child how to regulate too. Mistake number two is believing that your child's success is proof of your parenting. Instead, detach your identity from your child's behavior. Your child's behavior does not define who you are as a parent. You can be their guide, but it's not necessary for you to be their reflection. Mistake number three is comparing your journey to neurotypical families. It's like comparing apples to oranges. It's just not the same thing. So instead, do what works for your child and your family. And it is truly what matters most, that you, your child, and your family experience like positive experiences in life, and that you have a little bit less stress and a little bit more of a happy, normal life. Okay. So Just a quick recap: parents of neurodivergent kids are burned out, not because they're not doing enough, they're actually doing a lot. They're burned out because they're doing too much of the wrong thing, trying to fix your child instead of starting with you. So just remember, shift your mindset and remember that change starts with you. And with that, I'll open it up for questions. Are there any?
Yeah. So we got a question. I think it's based on the theme of what we are talking about earlier on that we can't control every behavior challenge that comes up. So the parent is asking, how do I know when I should step in and when to correct behavior versus when I can just let it go? Because this is very hard for me, is to let behaviors go when I know that likely they're not going to set my child up for success.
I think that it is highly dependent on your values as a parent. Um, what I would recommend in that situation, depending on the severity of the behavior, is like, is this really something that it's kind of like that idea of the power struggles and like picking your battles, right? Is this a battle worth picking? For example, in the morning, if I want my child to wear, 4th of July happened, I want my child to wear red, white, and blue because it's according to the the holiday, etc., etc. Child wants to wear yellow. Is that a battle that I'm willing to pick? Like, I would recommend that you ask yourself that question: is this a battle that is worth picking? And then, is this a value that I hold as a parent? Because a lot of the times we think of the shoulds, the must, that I need to have my child fed before they go to school. Is that something that you truly believe in? Is that something that you actually do think that is important, or is that something that just, came to you for from societal norms or whatever it is? Like, re- really reflect on what's important to you as a parent, and really reflect on if it's worth picking that battle in that moment. So those are the two questions I would ask myself in those moments.
Great. There's another one that's asking, what's the difference between saying my child won't listen versus my child is having a hard time listening? Doesn't that, how does that change how I respond as a parent?
Definitely. So if you say, my child does not listen, it implies that he is purposefully not listening to you. And then there is, I guess, intrinsic, like, bad intention in your child's actions. Versus if you say, my child is having a hard time listening, it implies, it's language related to the brain. It implies that your child is not purposefully doing this, that there is an external circumstance that is out of his control, potentially how his brain processes information, or how the instruction is being delivered, that is out of his control, that is preventing him from listening. So if you take the two different like meanings, then you are more likely in this situation of, my child is having a hard time listening, figuring out why that is. Is it the way I said the instruction? Am I using too many words? Is it my tone? Is he just distracted? Then I can look at the situation and be like, oh, okay, he's having a hard time listening. Let me figure out how I can help him. Versus if you take this approach, you just get frustrated because you think that he's purposefully not listening to you. That's the difference.
Hmm. We have another one kind of similar. How do I stop using labels like stubborn, dramatic, lazy when I'm trying to describe what's going on?
Yeah, that is a great question. This is what we call an operational definition. So instead of just using labels of a bundle things of behaviors that are happening, you just list exactly what is happening. So, for example, if a child is having a tantrum, instead of saying he's having a tantrum, I'm going to say he is kicking his legs, he's crying with tears or crying without tears, he's whining, screaming, hitting the wall. So it's similar to the stubborn. So instead of saying he's being stubborn, you can say, I gave him an instruction of putting his shoes on, and he did not respond the first time. He responded on the third time. That's how you actually are very can start training yourself in stopping the label and actually just defining what is happening in that moment.
Gotcha. Um, I have another question that came up. I often tell people she's just being manipulative, but now I'm wondering if that's part of the problem. You talked a little bit earlier on reframing. Um, how should I reframe how I view my daughter's behaviors, given that I do think that she's actually trying to just get what she wants?
Yeah, I mean, there's a difference in we are all trying to get what we want, right? Like if you think about your behavior, your motivations, why you go to work, why you open your fridge to get water or food, you're trying to get what you want, and that's okay. The way that we go about getting what we want is it appropriate or is it inappropriate? Your child may have just learned ways to get what she wants in inappropriate ways. It does not mean that she's being manipulative just because she hasn't learned a better way yet. So reframing that manipulation, quote unquote, or word of manipulative, it's just thinking about that. Maybe I just need to learn to teach my child better ways or appropriate ways to get what she wants. It's okay for her to try to get what she wants. We all do. So that's kind of like how I would go about reframing it. And then when you try to actually look at her behavior, then what are those things that you think that she does to get what she wants that is inappropriate, and what can she do instead? And then focus on teaching her that.
Hmm. Earlier, you talked about comparing um, our family circumstances to other parents. How do you suggest I stop comparing myself to other parents whose kids seem to be thriving for their age?
Yeah, I would recommend again that you look at what are your family values, what are your family goals. Um, Ultimately, in my experience, working with many parents, hundreds of parents, always their goal is not necessarily to look like that family. Their goals are related to how we feel in the home. How happy are we? How are our kids thriving or succeeding? Like it seems like the comparison comes from a thought of or a belief that we must be at this point in life. But if we take all of that away and if we actually spend time stress free, happy, and having positive experiences in life with our children, the majority of the families I've worked with, they're happy with that. So I would take a step back and just ask yourself these questions like, what do I value as a parent? What are our values as a family? What do we want to achieve ultimately? And then go from there in building that, because I think that what happens with most families is that they are here and they want to be here, but the want to be here often is defined by what they see in other families or by what they think like society tells them to be instead of defining it themselves. So if you want to fill that discrepancy between where you're at and where you want to go, you need to have a where you want to go so you can feel like you're no longer comparing yourself to neurotypical families.
Awesome. Well, that's all we got for today.
Cool. All right. I'll see you guys next week.